So now that I've talked a little bit about the toys that I bought from Star Detective Precure, now let's actually talk about Star Detective Precure. Star Detective Precure, I think, is very interesting because it is, I guess the best word that I could say is very ambitious. They're already doing very ambitious things with this season that they have not done. Either they've done bits and pieces in other Precure seasons, but they haven't really gone full on into it, or they just haven't done something like this for a few years, and it's sort of really nice to see it returning, kind of thing. And from the perspective as well of somebody like, say, an adult or just somebody who's been a Precure fan for a long time, basically just anybody who is past the target audience age of like preschoolers, there's things that honestly are surprisingly, you could almost say pandering, or you could also just say, things that feel like they're there to attract their attention. So attract my attention, attract everybody else's attention. There's like kind of so many things that are all packed into one that it's kind of insane that a season like this is actually happening. Whether or not it's actually going to live up to all of those sort of expectations you get when you hear these ideas, who knows? Probably not. It's probably going to disappoint some people. But at the very least, I appreciate the ambition. I appreciate the ambition a lot. And that's sort of another reason why I just really want this season to be good. So I just kind of want to like list out all of the interesting or ambitious or appealing things that Star Detective Precure is doing. First of all, the theme is detectives, and that is, first of all, it's very interesting because a detective story basically implies a level of intelligence, a level of interesting plots, and having things that are actually properly plotted in the ways that, there are mysteries get solved, there are clues, there's like logic that makes all these things happen, that characters are using basic logic, things that kids shows don't have to do, and things that kids shows can easily get away with not doing. I've only seen the first episode so far, but there was an actual mystery with clues, ways that you could actually figure out the mystery before everyone could figure out who the culprit was. So it was actually quite impressive. Another interesting, ambitious thing is that there is time travel involved. Not only time travel, but the entire series seems like it's going to be taking place in the year 1999, with the protagonist being somebody from 2027 who somehow magically, through her little pocket watch thing that turns into this, uh, somehow gets transported to the year 1999. That as well is also very interesting. Like I was saying before, it definitely appeals to adults. It is basically like a where they're kind of doing all these little retro things, like, oh, look, in 1999 we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have all these technologies, the cars looked like this, the televisions looked like this, the audio good video quality looks like this. These very, little kind of subtle things, and things that don't actually have to be plot points in episodes, but more just like part of the backdrop, which gives people watching it like all these really fun Easter eggs to just pay attention to. People have already found a bunch of them from like the first episode alone. Like they had like an old car, they had advertisements for the kinds of phones that they sell in the 90s, all this kind of stuff. And if this is going to relate to any sort of time travel plot line that's going to happen, it's going to be some sorts of time paradoxes, things about changing the future or something, things that are related to why there is a time travel aspect in this story as well. Once again, something that requires a lot of thought to write, something that you can't just make up and just kind of have it as a gimmick and not really properly think about it. And that makes it really crazy that Precure is doing this because, like I said, Precure can get away with not doing the writing chops, with not trying all these things. The last season itself didn't really have a very ambitious plot line at all, which, amongst the English speaking Precure fans would probably be seen as a downside, but that doesn't necessarily matter as long as the toys sell. I will say I am definitely very curious as to why they chose this direction for the plot, why they decided to make this story set in the year 1999, basically. I have all these little theories in my head of what the writers were thinking. Like maybe it was because Bandai said they were going to have a watch as the a clock as the transformation item, and then they wanted to tie it into that. Maybe it was because they knew it was a detective season, and they thought they can't do a detective season set in the modern day because we have smartphones and technology, and it makes things too easy and makes it so that there's no sort of reason to use the detective tools or, like logic. So they're like, okay, we'll set it in 1999 before all those technologies, and they have to figure out the old-fashioned way with pen and paper and all that kind of stuff. Could be that reason. It could be there's like a thematic thing of like 1999 because like between the Y2K stuff and the Nostradamus prophecy thing of this whole like, oh, people think that the year is going to end, the world's going to end in 1999 and it's going to tie into that plot line. So I know that like, I think like, Chrono Trigger has that. Apparently JoJo Part 4 is set in 1999 and maybe that also ties into that part. I only got a little bit into JoJo Part 4 and I didn't finish it. So it's definitely a thing that shows up in a lot of like anime and manga and stuff about these like, oh, let's have it set in 1999 and we're gonna prevent the end of the world somehow. So maybe that's the reason, but I don't really know. It is something that is a strange choice because it also has the potential to really overshadow the detective theme. You almost have two major themes here. It's like imagine if you did like Power Rangers SPD and Power Rangers Time Force at the same time. Or I guess you could say that the Super Sentai equivalents of them. I don't know what they're called, like Time Ranger and I don't know what the other one's called. Anyway, you basically have two themes there in one. Really, each one of those is ambitious. So putting both of them at the same time, it's like super mega ultra ambitious. And it's crazy. I'm just like, why are they doing this? How are they doing this? Do they really think they can pull this off? That's the thing that's really interesting. And even just watching the first episode, there are points that make you think that like they are really sort of trying to lean into this sort of mystery element and thinking element because there's a whole bunch of mysteries already just from episode 1. And like obviously there's the usual ones like how is Anna get brought back in time and why is she being brought back in time and who are the villains and all those usual sort of things. But there's a bunch of other stuff like, for example, in the first episode we see Anna's mom and Kyo answer Anna's mom, and she looks basically exactly like an adult version of Mikuru, Kyo Mystique. And so obviously everybody then started thinking, okay, does that mean that Mikuru is actually Anna's mom? And obviously, since she went back in time, she went back to the time where Mikuru was the same age as her, and be like, oh yeah, I'm your mother from I'm your daughter from the future, mother from the future, etc., etc. But at the same time, it's like they didn't really bring any points to it, and it's almost so obvious that it almost makes me think there's some kind of misdirection there. There's a scene in the OP where it's like that they've got their own mothers that are like they're sort of like pulling them apart from each other, and I don't understand what that really means. There's this other shot in the OP with a butterfly, and I don't know what that means either. Is it the butterfly effect? Has it got something to do with like flower language because it's on a specific flower and all that kind of stuff? And let's not get into the other really insane thing, which is the mystery of Cure Eclair. So there is a fourth Pretty Cure. The third Pretty Cure I'll get to, but the fourth Pretty Cure, the one where they've shown what she looks like, and what her name is, her Pretty Cure name is, but we don't know anything else about her, including voice actors and all that stuff. There's Cure Eclair. She's the blue one, and we don't know anything about her. And usually in the OP, if there's a character who you don't know what their civilian identity is, yeah, you'll probably be able to see them because they've shown up in the OP and they look really similar. But this season is doing something very interesting where there are what looks to be like 4 characters who could probably all be Cure Claire because they all look like her in some capacity and they are all in the OP, like one after another. Not to mention, like, sometimes they show up at the same time. So it's not like, oh, it's just like one person who has just like changed their appearances. No, like they are in the same room at the same time. So there is this crazy speculation because it is almost impossible to work out which one of them is Cure Claire because they all have similar elements to them and similar theme colors and design elements and ages, and it's crazy. It's kind of ridiculous. I am actually still completely shocked that they actually have done something like this because it's insane. Like maybe it's for the children as well in the audience that eventually it's going to be a big thing where like they try to figure out who Cura Claire is from all of the hints, but the fact that they don't even make it obvious for the adults. They don't make it's not a very obvious thing. And the fact that they put them there right in the OP, showing everybody, reminding everybody of that mystery every time they watch a new episode of the show. It's crazy. I can't believe they did that. And in a good way. Another fun thing about this season is Jet Senpai. Is one of essentially seems to be like kind of a supporting character in the cast, and they are like a fairy, a genius inventor fairy who invents all of the random detective gadgets that they use in the show that will also be conveniently available in toy form. Also, he has a human form that looks like a cute little boy, and like he's wearing a lab coat that is clearly too big for him, and he's like has to roll the sleeves up so it doesn't go over his arms. Like that is just a really cute character design. It's also voiced by Yuki Kaji as well, who's pretty well known amongst male voice actors. I like the Shota characters in Precure. I like it when you have male characters, male supporting characters, even if they don't become Precure. Although I do actually wish that there were more dude Precure, but I think that just that character just sounds so cute. Like he's just this cute little fairy. He likes sweets, but he also like is a genius inventor and he wants to be taken seriously. But you can't help it because he looks so cute. They call him senpai, even though he looks younger than all of them. Like it sounds adorable, and I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that character. And then there is the other really big popular thing that's getting a lot of attention, and that is the third Pretty Cure, essentially. For the first time in like 15 years, basically, there is a Pretty Cure who is essentially part of the villains team. It is essentially a villain, a bad Pretty Cure, although not bad. She's not evil. Clearly, she's being manipulated, or she's doing it for her own reasons. She's all dressed in black. She's aloof, and she really likes ice cream. She's got her own fairy, and obviously has reasons for working on her own for a bit until eventually she'll reform and join the main crew. Her name is Cure Arcana Shadow. She's got like a big purple staff with a playing card on it that is very clearly going to be sold as a toy eventually, and that looks like the coolest toy ever. When the show started, like all of her merchandise started getting sold out because everybody loves this idea of this like aloof, evil sort of, anti-villain sort of I'm working for the bad guys, but I'm actually a good person. Black dressed in black, pretty cure. It's great. It's a kind of trope that happens in a lot more like magical girl shows sort of aimed at otaku and adults. It reminds me of Fate from the Nanoha series, especially the like long blonde hair and the black outfit. I'm sure the character's going to be really popular, and Pretty Girl doesn't normally do this. So the fact that they are doing a character like this, yeah, it's fun. Everybody likes it. She sounds like she's going to be a lot of fun as well. It means that the show can have a little bit more sort of complexity to it as well. If you have characters who are in the evil organization but are doing things for their own reason, as opposed to like, just them being brainwashed or whatever. It sounds like it's just going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to that. And the crazy thing is, if a season just had one of those things, just one of those things that I just mentioned, I probably would have been like, ooh, that sounds fun. I'm just going to watch the Precure season and especially pay attention to that and see how far they go with that one thing because it's interesting. But they don't just have that one. They've got several. There are several different things here that are all really unique or interesting or fun or just cute. And Pretty Cure seasons don't normally start off with such a strong start like that, basically. Prequel seasons don't necessarily have that much potential. They don't necessarily show off so many things that they could potentially do at the very beginning, like this, with just the PR releases and the toys and everything. So it's all really interesting. It definitely has the most potential of any Precure season thus far. Pretty much, it's crazy. I am still shocked that this is a thing that we're doing now. Now that doesn't mean that the season is going to be perfect. There are definitely things that I am concerned about. I don't know whether or not it'll be able to live up to its own hype because well the hype is so big. The staff directors and producers are relative newbies to Precure release as season directors and season producers. So we're not really sure exactly, how they're gonna manage it. Also, the head writer for the series, Isao Murayama, he is a veteran to writing Precure, but he's written two seasons, which are Mahou Sky and Star Twinkle, which are seasons which particularly annoy me because they feel like they have a lot of potential because their concepts are really interesting. But then when you go into like the episodes themselves, I just find it disappointing because I feel like they didn't really live up to their own potential. They didn't really do as much with the themes that I really would have liked from those sorts of themes. So, I am a bit concerned. I'm a bit concerned. Maybe at one point they might just ditch all the detective stuff, or ditch all the time travel stuff, or ditch all the interesting villains stuff. But obviously, I'm coming in hopeful, and I'm coming in at the very least wanting to reward Toei for all of their ambition by buying the merchandise early and saying, I'll give you my money, or Bandai or whoever. I'll give you guys my money for taking those risks, and I'm going to hope that the show will be able to live up to those expectations. Because I mean, if it does, if they do, it might be a show that is not just like a, oh, this is a good kids show. I'll just be like a, oh, this is just a cute show that everybody needs to watch in general, like because it's got fun things to it, you know. Just by the standards of anime, it'll be a fun anime, and I'm really looking forward to that. So those are basically my opinions on Star Detective Precure. I'm really interested in it. I'm really excited about it. It has the potential to be really, really fun. I don't know if it will be throughout the whole year, but at the very least, it gives me something really, really to look forward to for the next year, and that's it's gonna be very enjoyable. I made like a Precure channel years ago just to do Precure episode reviews, and then it got too difficult because I was doing Super at the same time, and who knows, maybe I'll bring that back. I've got no idea. It's the start of a new year and the start of new potential, and it's all just sounds like a lot of fun. I hope you had a good day, and I'll see you later.